Am I the asshole for considering not inviting my brother's girlfriend to my wedding because my parents can't stand her? M, 28, getting married to Emma, 30, in 6 months. My brother Ryan, 30, has been dating Sophie, 30, for about 2 years now. I need outside perspective on this because I'm starting to feel crazy. Here's the background: my parents absolutely cannot stand Sophie. For the past 18 months, every single family gathering turns into them dissecting her behavior afterward. She's too direct. She doesn't understand family dynamics. She creates an uncomfortable atmosphere wherever she goes. The complaints never stop. I've tried to stay neutral because honestly, Sophie seems fine to me. She's quiet most of the time, polite when she speaks, brings nice gifts to events. But I wasn't there for whatever specific incidents my parents keep referencing. They say she was openly rude to my mom at Thanksgiving 2023, that she interrupted my dad multiple times during Christmas dinner, that she made inappropriate comments about our family traditions during Easter. Ryan defends her every time, which seems to make my parents even angrier. The complaints have been escalating recently. My mom called me 3 times last week, each conversation lasting over an hour, going through every interaction she's had with Sophie since they met. She told me she's been losing sleep, thinking about my wedding because she's dreading having Sophie there causing problems. She said she's already stressed about the logistics, and having Sophie there would make everything worse. My dad was more direct. He said he's genuinely considering not coming to my wedding if that woman is going to be there. When I asked him to be more specific about what Sophie had done, he said, "You know how she is, Jake. She just has this way about her. She makes everyone uncomfortable." But I don't know how she is. Every time I've been around Sophie, she's been perfectly normal. Reserved maybe, but not rude. She asks polite questions, laughs at jokes, helps clean up after dinner. I've never seen her interrupt anyone or make inappropriate comments. Emma and I talked about it for hours last night. Neither of us particularly care about Sophie one way or another. We're not close to her, and she's not someone I'd normally spend time with outside family events. But we do want our wedding to be peaceful. My parents have been nothing but supportive of our relationship from day one. They've helped with planning, they're paying for nearly half the wedding, and they've been excited about this day for months. It seems reasonable to want the people who raised you and are financially supporting your wedding to be comfortable on what's supposed to be one of the happiest days of your life. So yesterday I brought it up with Ryan. I tried to be diplomatic about it. Told him I understood his position, but maybe it would be better if Sophie sat this one out, just to keep the peace. That it wasn't personal against her, just practical wedding planning. He lost it completely. Started yelling at me in the middle of the coffee shop where we were meeting. Said I was being manipulated by our parents. That Sophie has never done anything wrong except refuse to kiss their asses and have her own opinions. He said if Sophie isn't invited, he won't come either, and I can explain to everyone why there's no best man at the wedding. That hit me hard. Ryan and I have been close our whole lives. He's supposed to be my best man. The idea of him not being there because of this situation makes me sick. I called my parents after Ryan stormed out. Told them about his ultimatum. Now they're saying they'll be heartbroken if Ryan doesn't come to my wedding. My mom started crying again, saying she never wanted to cause problems, she just wants our family to be happy. They're asking why I would break up the family over someone who's not even officially part of the family yet. My dad said something that's been bothering me. Why are you prioritizing a girlfriend over your own blood? We've been nothing but good to you your entire life, and now you're going to let some outsider destroy our family. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I just wanted one day without drama. Was I wrong to suggest Sophie not come? I thought I was being reasonable, trying to find a compromise that would keep everyone happy. But now everyone's angry at me, and I'm the one who has to figure out how to fix this. The wedding is in 6 months. My parents are threatening not to come if Sophie's there. My brother is threatening not to come if she's not there. Emma is getting stressed about the whole situation. I feel like no matter what I choose, I'm going to lose someone important to me. Am I the asshole for even considering excluding Sophie? Should I have never brought this up with Ryan? How do I fix this mess? Update: 1 original post got way more attention than I expected. Over 2,000 comments and hundreds of messages. I've been reading them for 3 straight days, and the responses really opened my eyes to some things I wasn't seeing clearly. The comment that hit me hardest was someone asking, "If your parents have been complaining about Sophie for 18 months, can you name one specific incident you personally witnessed where she was inappropriate?" I spent an hour trying to think of one example. I couldn't. Another person pointed out something I hadn't considered. Your parents are asking you to exclude your brother's girlfriend based on their feelings, not her actions. That's not normal wedding planning, that's control. Emma and I stayed up until 2 a.m. last night talking about this. She admitted she'd been feeling uncomfortable about the situation too, but hadn't wanted to add stress while I was already torn up about it. When we really broke it down, we realized we were making major decisions based on completely vague complaints rather than actual incidents. I went through every family gathering in my head. Thanksgiving 2023, I was there the whole time. Sophie was quiet, helped with dishes, complimented my mom's stuffing. Christmas dinner, Sophie asked thoughtful questions about family recipes and traditions. Easter, she brought a beautiful centerpiece and spent most of the evening helping my aunt with her baby. Not once did I see her interrupt anyone, make inappropriate comments, or cause any kind of scene. But every single time, my parents found something to criticize afterward. It was always subtle things. Did you notice how she questioned the way we do grace? Or the way she looked at me when I was telling that story about your grandfather? I felt sick. How had I let myself get drawn into this? I called Ryan first thing this morning, told him Sophie is absolutely invited and I was completely wrong to suggest otherwise. I apologized for even entertaining the idea of excluding her. I told him I'd been operating on second-hand information and should have trusted my own observations. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Jake, I've been worried about you. You've been different around them lately, more careful, like you're walking on eggshells." He was right, I had been. Ryan seemed relieved but admitted he was still hurt that I'd considered excluding Sophie in the first place. "She's going to be my wife someday," he said. "When you told me to leave her home, it felt like you were saying she wasn't good enough to be part of our family." That broke something open in my chest. Sophie probably will be Ryan's wife. She's already part of our family, whether my parents accept it or not. Then I called my parents to let them know we decided to invite Sophie after all. I expected them to be disappointed but ultimately understanding. After all, they'd raised me to be fair and thoughtful about decisions. Instead, they were furious in a way I'd never experienced before. My mom started crying immediately, not sad crying, angry crying. She said I was choosing that girl over your own family and that I was breaking her heart. My dad said they were disgusted, that I would force them to share their son's wedding with someone who clearly disrespects them. I tried to stay calm. "Mom, you've been telling me for months that you wanted me to handle the Sophie situation. I'm handling it. She's invited." "We didn't mean handle it by giving her what she wants," my mom shouted. "We meant handle it by doing what's right for your family." This is where everything started feeling surreal. These are the same people who have been complaining about Sophie for months, telling me how uncomfortable they are around her, how much they dread family events when she's there. But now that I'm actually inviting her, they're acting like I'm the one creating problems. My dad's voice was cold. "Fine, but don't expect us to pretend to like her. And when she causes drama at your wedding, not if, when, that's entirely on you." I asked what specific drama they were worried about. What exactly did they think Sophie was going to do at a wedding where she knew she wasn't universally welcome? My mom just said, "You know how she is," and my dad said, "Don't act naive, Jake. You've seen how she operates." But I genuinely don't know how she is. I've been taking their word for it this whole time, accepting their interpretation of events I either didn't witness or apparently didn't interpret the same way they did. The call ended with my mom saying they were disappointed in me for not consulting them before making this decision. I pointed out that they'd been asking me to handle the situation for months. Apparently handling it meant doing exactly what they wanted, not making an independent choice. After I hung up, I sat in my car for 20 minutes just trying to process what had happened. Emma found me there when she got home from work. "How did it go?" she asked. "I think my parents might not be the people I thought they were," I said. Emma thinks their reaction was more than strange. She thinks it was revealing. She pointed out that they went from, "We can't bear to be around Sophie," to "How dare you make this decision without our approval," in the span of a single conversation. "Normal parents who are uncomfortable with someone might be disappointed," she said. They don't usually get furious that their adult son made a thoughtful decision about his own wedding. I keep replaying that phone call. The anger in my mom's voice wasn't hurt or disappointment. It was rage that I hadn't done what they wanted. The way my dad said when she causes drama bothered me too. Not if, when. Like they were expecting problems, maybe even hoping for them. The wedding is still happening in 5.5 months. Sophie will be there. But something fundamental shifted today, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm seeing my parents clearly for the first time in a long time. Update 2, I don't know how to start this post. I've been staring at the screen for an hour, trying to find words that make sense of what happened. I keep thinking this must be a misunderstanding, that there's some explanation that will make this rational. There isn't. 2 days ago, Sophie called me crying so hard I could barely understand her. When she finally calmed down enough to speak clearly, she told me my parents had shown up at her apartment in Oregon unannounced. They'd driven 1,200 miles from Arizona, just to talk to her about my wedding. Let me be clear about what that means. My parents are in their 60s. My dad has back problems from 30 years of construction work. My mom gets carsick on drives longer than 2 hours. They flew to my college graduation because driving 8 hours was too much for them. But they drove 20 hours across 3 states to have a conversation with my brother's girlfriend. According to Sophie, they arrived around 3 p.m. on Sunday. She was doing laundry when someone knocked. She opened the door to find my parents standing there with serious expressions and a gift bag from our hometown bakery. "We need to talk to you about Jake's wedding," my mom said. "Can we come in?" Sophie was confused but let them in. She offered coffee, asked about their drive, made polite conversation while they settled into her living room. She said they seemed tense but not hostile. She thought maybe they were finally ready to work things out with her. Then my mom pulled out her phone. "Sophie," she said, "we need you to know that Jake has decided not to invite you to his wedding after all. He asked us to come tell you because he was too embarrassed to do it himself." Sophie said the words didn't register at first. She asked them to repeat it. My dad leaned forward. "Jake realizes now that you're not appropriate for family events. Emma agrees. They want their wedding day to be comfortable for everyone, and that means family only." Sophie started to protest. She said she didn't understand, that I'd just called Ryan 3 days ago to confirm she was invited, that we talked about seating arrangements and meal preferences. That's when my mom showed her the screenshots. "He's been texting us about this for days," my mom said, scrolling through what appeared to be message threads from my phone. "Look." Sophie described messages where I supposedly complained about her awkward behavior at family events and said I was dreading having her at the wedding. Messages where I asked my parents for advice on how to handle the Sophie situation without making Ryan angry. Messages where Emma and I apparently agreed that excluding Sophie was the right call for our relationship. The messages looked real. They had my contact photo, the right phone number, timestamps that seemed legitimate, but I never sent them. Sophie believed my parents completely. Why wouldn't she? These are people who have known me my entire life. These are my parents. If they say their son sent the messages, who would question that? She told them she understood and wouldn't cause any problems. She thanked them for driving all that way to tell her personally instead of letting her find out at the church. She said she appreciated their honesty. My parents stayed for another hour. They had coffee and cookies from the bakery. They asked Sophie about her job, complimented her apartment, talked about the weather during their drive. Normal, friendly conversation while she processed being disinvited from her boyfriend's brother's wedding. Then Ryan came home. Sophie said he walked through the door talking about dinner plans and stopped short when he saw my parents sitting on their couch. His first words were, "What are you doing here?" My mom smiled. "We came to talk to Sophie about the wedding. Everything's settled now." That's when Ryan realized what had happened. The confrontation was explosive. Ryan immediately called me with my parents sitting right there, demanding to know why I had gone back on my word about inviting Sophie. I was at Home Depot buying supplies for a bathroom renovation. When my phone rang and I saw Ryan's name, I expected him to thank me again for including Sophie or ask about wedding details. Instead, he was screaming, "What the hell is wrong with you? You told me Sophie was invited." I had no idea what he was talking about. Sophie was invited. I'd confirmed it multiple times. Then why are Mom and Dad sitting in our living room telling her she's disinvited? I felt something cold settle in my stomach. What do you mean they're sitting in your living room? They drove here, Jake. They came to Oregon to tell Sophie you don't want her at your wedding. They have text messages from you. I stood in the middle of Home Depot trying to process this information. My parents were in Oregon. They'd driven across 3 states to disinvite my brother's girlfriend from my wedding, based on text messages I never sent. Ryan, I have no idea what you're talking about. Sophie is invited. I never asked them to disinvite her. I never sent any messages about excluding her. There was a long silence. Then I heard my mom's voice in the background. He's lying to you, Ryan. Ask him about the text from Thursday night. Ask him about what Emma said about the seating chart. But I was home with Emma on Thursday night. We watched a movie and went to bed early. I didn't text anyone about the wedding. Put Mom on the phone, I said. My mom's voice was defensive. Jake, we're just trying to protect the family. This is what you wanted. I never wanted this. I never asked you to drive to Oregon. I never sent you messages about excluding Sophie. What the hell are you doing? Don't lie to us, honey. We have the screenshots. I checked my phone mid-conversation, still talking to them. Scrolled through every conversation I'd had with my parents in the past month. No messages about Sophie. No complaints about the wedding guest list. Nothing that resembled what they were describing. My parents eventually left Sophie and Ryan's apartment, but the damage was complete. Sophie was humiliated and confused. Ryan was furious with everyone. Their relationship was suddenly under stress because of a situation none of us understood. I drove straight to Emma's office, showed her my phone, walked her through the entire conversation with my parents. She went through my messages with me, looking for anything that could have been misinterpreted or taken out of context. We found nothing. That evening, I called my parents when they got back to their hotel. I needed answers. They denied everything at first, said Sophie was obviously lying and trying to cause drama between our families. When I pressed them about the drive, why they were in Oregon at all, they claimed they were just visiting the area and decided to clear the air with Sophie. But when I pushed harder, when I demanded to know about these text messages I supposedly sent, my dad finally broke. We were trying to resolve the situation, he said. We thought it would be easier for everyone if she just quietly didn't come. By lying to her. By handling it properly, you were too worried about hurting Ryan's feelings to do what needed to be done. My mom took the phone. We've been patient with this girl for 2 years, Jake. We tried to accept her, but she doesn't fit with our family. Your wedding day should be about family, not about accommodating someone who makes everyone uncomfortable. She doesn't make me uncomfortable. She doesn't make Ryan uncomfortable. She only makes you uncomfortable. That should be enough, my mom said. We're your parents. I realized in that moment that they genuinely believed they had the right to control my wedding guest list based on their personal preferences, that they'd driven 1,200 miles and fabricated evidence because they couldn't accept that I'd made a decision they disagreed with. Where did the text messages come from? I asked. Silence. Mom, where did the text messages come from? We knew what you really felt, she said finally. We could see how stressed you were about this situation. Sometimes people need help saying what they really mean. They had created fake messages. Somehow, they had generated realistic-looking text conversations that never happened. They had used these fabricated messages to justify driving across the country and lying to my brother's girlfriend. I hung up. Emma found me sitting on our kitchen floor an hour later. She didn't ask questions, just sat down next to me. They drove 1,200 miles to lie to Sophie, I said. Yes. They made fake text messages. Yes. They created the exact drama they've been claiming Sophie causes, Emma nodded. And they did it in your name. The wedding is in 3.5 months. Ryan isn't speaking to me because he thinks I'm somehow behind this, even though I've shown him my phone and sworn I never sent those messages. Sophie is hurt and confused, caught between believing my parents and believing me. My parents are back in Arizona, probably convinced they did the right thing. I don't understand my own family anymore. I don't understand the people who raised me, who taught me to be honest and treat people with respect. I don't understand how they became people who would drive 1,200 miles to destroy someone else's peace of mind. Emma is horrified. She keeps asking how they even knew Sophie's address, how they got into the apartment complex, whether this behavior is normal for them. I can't answer any of her questions because this isn't normal. This isn't the family I grew up in, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe this is exactly the family I grew up in, and I'm just seeing it clearly for the first time. Final update: the wedding happened 6 weeks ago. It was beautiful despite everything that came before it. Sophie came, she was gracious and kind, and there wasn't a single moment of drama from her all night. She wore a navy dress that Emma complimented, brought a thoughtful gift, and spent the evening making sure everyone felt included in conversations. She was everything my parents said she wasn't. But I'm writing this final update because I finally learned the complete truth about what happened, and it's worse than I thought possible. For the past 3 months, Ryan had been distant with me despite eventually believing my version of events. I couldn't understand why. We'd cleared the air about my parents' trip to Oregon. Sophie had accepted my apologies. They'd both come to the wedding and seemed happy to be there, but something was still wrong between us and it was eating at me. Last weekend, I found out why. My parents had been calling Ryan regularly since the confrontation at Sophie's apartment. Not once or twice, multiple times a week, sometimes daily. They told him they were concerned about the family and wanted to make sure everyone was okay after the misunderstanding. But the calls weren't about concern. They were about control. My parents told Ryan that I was embarrassed about my behavior regarding the Sophie situation and was asking them not to tell anyone what really happened. They said I was trying to turn the family against them and painting myself as innocent when I was actually the one who had wanted Sophie excluded from the beginning. They said I'd asked them to go to Oregon. They said I was now lying about it because I was ashamed of how everything had played out. Ryan eventually stopped answering their calls, but the damage was accumulating. He didn't know what to believe anymore. His own parents were telling him his brother was a liar and a manipulator. His brother was swearing innocence but couldn't prove a negative. For 3 months, Ryan lived with this confusion. He believed me enough to come to the wedding, but he couldn't shake the doubt they'd planted. Every conversation between us felt strained because he was watching for signs that I was the person our parents said I was. Last Saturday night, this all came to a head at my cousin Mark's birthday party. My dad had too much to drink and started complaining about Sophie again to anyone who would listen. She really showed her true colors at the wedding, he said. Did you see how she was acting? Mark's wife asked what he meant. Sophie had seemed lovely at the wedding, very polite and friendly. My dad laughed bitterly. That's all an act. She knows how to put on a show when she has to. Ryan overheard this from across the room. He walked over and confronted my dad directly. What exactly did Sophie do wrong at the wedding? You know how she is, Ryan. No, I don't. Tell me specifically what she did. My dad started listing generic complaints. Sophie had monopolized conversations. She'd acted like she belonged. She'd made inappropriate comments about the ceremony. Ryan pushed harder. He'd been at the wedding. He'd seen Sophie all night. None of what my dad was saying matched reality. That's when my dad, thinking he was talking to a sympathetic audience and probably forgetting that Ryan was Sophie's boyfriend, told him the real story. Look, my dad said, we tried to handle this situation quietly. We drove all the way to Oregon to explain to that girl that she wasn't welcome at Jake's wedding. We tried to spare everyone the drama of having her there, but then Jake got cold feet and invited her anyway, and now we're all supposed to pretend everything's fine. Ryan went completely still. What do you mean you drove to Oregon to explain she wasn't welcome? We told her Jake didn't want her there, which was true. Jake asked us to handle it because he was too much of a coward to do it himself. Jake never asked you to handle anything. He was furious when he found out what you'd done. My dad's expression changed. He realized he'd said too much, revealed too much truth to the wrong person, but the alcohol had loosened his tongue and he couldn't stop himself. Jake was relieved we took care of it. He just got scared when Ryan threatened not to come to the wedding, so he blamed us for doing what he wanted us to do. Ryan called me from the party. I could hear voices and music in the background, but his voice was deadly quiet. Dad just told me you asked them to go to Oregon. I felt that familiar cold feeling in my stomach. Ryan, I know you didn't, but he just confessed to everything, Jake. He told me they drove there to tell Sophie she wasn't welcome. He said they were protecting the family from someone who doesn't know her place. He said you were too naive to see Sophie for what she really was. I sat down hard on my couch. He admitted it. All of it, and more. They've been calling me for months telling me you were lying about what happened. They wanted me to believe you were the one manipulating everyone. When Ryan told me everything my dad had said, I felt something break inside my chest. Not heartbreak, something colder, something final. The last piece of respect I had for my parents just evaporated. They hadn't just lied to Sophie. They hadn't just fabricated text messages. They'd spent 3 months systematically trying to turn my brother against me. They'd poisoned every conversation, every family interaction, every moment of potential healing with more lies. They'd wanted to destroy Sophie's relationship with our family so badly that they were willing to destroy my relationship with Ryan to do it. I called them the next morning. Didn't wait for explanations or excuses. Just told them I knew the truth, all of it. My mom started crying immediately. Not the angry crying from before, frightened crying. She knew they'd been caught. "We only did it because we love you," she said. "We were trying to protect you from making a mistake." "What mistake? Inviting my brother's girlfriend to my wedding? She's not right for our family, Jake. She doesn't respect us." "She doesn't have to respect you. She's not dating you." My dad took the phone. His voice was defensive, aggressive. "You're ungrateful, Jake. We sacrificed everything for our children, and this is how you repay us. By choosing some stranger over your own family. You're not my family anymore." There was silence. Then my mom's voice again. "You don't mean that." "But I did mean it. I meant it completely. You drove 1,200 miles to lie to Sophie. You created fake text messages to support your lies. You spent months trying to turn Ryan against me. You've done everything possible to destroy the relationships I care about because you couldn't control them. We were trying to protect. You were trying to control, and when I wouldn't let you control my wedding guest list, you decided to control the narrative instead." My dad's voice got ugly then. "That girl has poisoned you against us. You used to be a good son." "I was an obedient son. There's a difference." I hung up. I haven't spoken to them since. Emma and I moved to Colorado 3 weeks ago. We found jobs we love, an apartment we can afford, a life that belongs entirely to us. We gave Ryan and Sophie our new address. My parents don't have it. Ryan and Sophie are engaged now. They asked me to be best man at their wedding. When they get married next summer, my parents won't be invited. Not out of spite, but because some relationships don't survive the truth about who people really are. The wedding photos arrived last week. In every picture that includes Sophie, she looks genuinely happy to be there. She's smiling at inside jokes, laughing at my grandfather's stories, helping Emma's little nephew with his dinner. She radiates the kind of warmth that makes people want to include her in conversations. She was everything a good family member should be. She was everything my parents refused to see. I keep thinking about those 18 months of complaints. How they trained me to see problems that weren't there. How they systematically undermined my ability to trust my own observations. How close I came to excluding someone who had done nothing wrong except refuse to be diminished by people who thought respect was owed rather than earned. I think about how I almost chose their comfort over my brother's happiness. How I almost let their manipulation cost me the relationship with Ryan that matters most to me. I'm not angry anymore. Anger was the wrong emotion anyway. I'm something quieter and more permanent. I'm done. Done pretending that DNA creates obligation. Done managing their emotions at the expense of my judgment. Done accepting that family means tolerating cruelty from people who claim to love you. Ryan and Sophie send pictures from their life in Oregon. They look genuinely happy in ways that have nothing to do with proving points or winning arguments. They look like people who have learned to trust their own instincts about who belongs in their life. Emma and I are building something similar here in Colorado. A life where kindness matters more than blood relations. Where Sophie is family not because she earned approval from the right people, but because she treats the people she loves with genuine care. My parents have tried reaching out through extended family members. Cousins calling to say my parents miss me and just want to talk. Aunts sending messages about how family should forgive and move on. I've asked everyone to stop passing along messages. Most of our relatives have been respectful of that boundary. A few have tried to guilt me into reconciling, talking about how my parents are getting older and how I'll regret this someday. Maybe I will regret it, but I won't regret choosing peace over chaos. I won't regret choosing my brother's happiness over my parents' comfort. I won't regret learning to trust my own judgment instead of accepting someone else's version of reality. Some people ask if I miss them. I miss the parents I thought I had. I'm grieving those people. But I don't miss the anxiety that came with managing their emotions. I don't miss walking on eggshells, constantly calculating how my decisions would affect their mood. I don't miss the exhaustion of trying to keep everyone happy at the expense of doing what was right. I don't miss who I was when I was their son. Sophie sends me pictures sometimes from family events in Oregon. Her parents, her siblings, Ryan fitting seamlessly into gatherings where people actually seem to enjoy each other's company, where disagreements get resolved through conversation instead of manipulation, where love doesn't come with conditions about who else you're allowed to care about. That's what family should look like. That's what I'm building now. I'm learning what peace feels like. It's quieter than I expected and stronger. It's the absence of bracing yourself for the next crisis, the next emotional emergency, the next test of loyalty that's actually a test of compliance. It's the presence of people who care more about your happiness than about being right. That's worth 1,200 miles. That's worth starting over. That's worth the truth, even when the truth is that the people who raised you aren't the people you thought they were, especially when that's the truth.